March 1974, RCA Studios, Nashville, Tennessee, 3:17 a.m. Elvis enters alone. No security, no band, no witnesses. Just him and a sound engineer, a man named Al Pachuki, the same man who's recorded Elvis since 1960. 14 years of trust, 14 years of shared silences. Elvis doesn't say good evening, doesn't explain why he's here, just points to the recording room. Al understands. He always understands. What happens in the next 18 minutes will change everything you think you know about Elvis Presley. Not about the singer, about the man. Here is the story. The studio door closes. Elvis walks to the piano. Steinway Model D, the same piano that recorded How Great Thou Art, the same one that recorded In the Ghetto. His hands shake, not from nerves, from need. There's something he must say, something he can't say in public, something he can't say to the band, something he can't say to Colonel Parker. Al adjusts the microphones, one for the piano, one for the voice, minimal setup, maximum intimacy. Elvis sits on the bench, adjusts the height, positions his feet on the pedals. Al, don't interrupt me. Al nods, no matter how long it takes. Elvis breathes deep. The studio is absolutely silent. Even the air conditioning is off. Al shut everything down, just the tape rolling, just the heart beating. Elvis closes his eyes and begins. A chord progression. Simple. D major, G major, a major. The same progression he's known since childhood, since the Assembly of God Church, since East Tupelo, since before he was Elvis. His voice emerges, low, almost a whisper, not the stage voice, the confession voice. He sings about redemption, about forgiveness, about a man who got lost, a man who needs to find his way back. The words aren't from a famous song, aren't from a known hymn. They're his. Elvis is composing, improvising, praying through music. Al in the booth freezes. In 14 years, he's never seen this. Elvis always recorded written material, approved material, commercial material. This is different. This is raw. Elvis's voice breaks on the third verse. He stops, breathes, continues. His hands on the piano are wet, sweat, tears, doesn't matter. He plays for 47 minutes. No pause, no rehearsal, no second take, one single performance, one single confession. But here's what nobody knows. This wasn't the first time Elvis tried to do this. It was the third. We need to go back. October 1973, 5 months earlier. Same studio, different outcome. Elvis arrived at midnight. Al was already there. Same setup. Piano, microphones, silence. Elvis sat down, started playing, stopped after 2 minutes. I can't do this. Al waited. Not yet. Elvis left. The tape remained blank. December 1973, 2 months later. Elvis tried again. 2:00 a.m. Same studio, same intention. This time he made it to 15 minutes. His voice cracked. Not artistically, emotionally. He stopped mid-phrase. Al, erase it. Al hesitated. Elvis stood. Erase it. Please. Al erased it. Elvis left again, defeated. Whatever he was trying to say, he couldn't get it out. Not yet. The weight was too heavy. The words too honest. The truth too sharp. Quick thought. Have you ever tried to say something so true it physically hurt to speak it out loud? Drop a comment. So when Elvis walked in that March night, Al knew. Third attempt. This was different. Elvis didn't hesitate at the door, didn't second guess at the piano, didn't stop when his voice broke. He pushed through. For 47 minutes. Because something had changed. Something between December and March. And that something was Lisa Marie. February 14th, 1974. Valentine's Day, 1 month before the recording. Lisa Marie was visiting Graceland. She was 5 years old. The divorce was finalized. Priscilla lived in California now. Visitation rights, scheduled time, legal distance. Elvis hated it. That Valentine's night, Lisa Marie couldn't sleep. She came to Elvis's room. "Daddy, sing me a song." Elvis picked her up, carried her to the piano downstairs. 3 a.m. The house dark, just father and daughter. He played "I'll Remember You," not the recorded version, slower, softer, like a lullaby. Lisa Marie fell asleep in his arms. Elvis kept playing. For another hour, just playing, just being. When he finally carried her back to bed, something broke open inside him. Or maybe something healed. He realized he'd been performing his whole life. Even gospel, even the sacred. Everything had an audience. Everything had a purpose. Everything was product, except that moment. That moment with Lisa Marie. That was pure. That was real. That was what music was supposed to be. And he wanted to capture that feeling. Not for a record, not for a release, not for anyone. For himself. To prove it was still possible. To prove he could still touch something true. To prove he wasn't completely lost. So 1 month later, he called Al. "Can you open the studio?" Al didn't ask when. 3 a.m. Al said yes. And now we're back in that room. Elvis finishing the 47-minute recording, his hands still on the keys, head bowed, shoulders rising and falling. Al waits. 5 minutes of silence. Finally, Elvis stands. "Thank you, Al." Al nods. "Do you want to hear it?" Elvis shakes his head. No. He walks to the door. Stops, turns back. "Keep this tape. Don't let anyone hear it." And leaves. Al stands alone in the booth. The tape is still on the machine. Reel-to-reel Ampex, 7.5 inches per second. 47 minutes of music. 47 minutes of soul. He doesn't know what to do. Elvis said to keep it, so he keeps it. But before that, he makes a copy. Not to distribute, not to sell, to preserve. Because Al knows. He knows what happened tonight is important. More important than any hit. More important than any show. This is the real Elvis. The original tape goes to RCA Archives, cataloged as Unauthorized Session, March 1974. No title, no credits, no planned release. Al's copy goes to his house, to a box, to a shelf, to oblivion. But the story doesn't end there. 3 days later, Colonel Parker finds out. He doesn't know about the tape yet, but he knows Elvis went to the studio. Unauthorized, unscheduled, uncontrolled. He calls Elvis. "What were you doing at RCA?" Elvis is calm. "Recording." Parker's voice hardens. "Recording what?" "Personal material. Silence on the line." Then Parker speaks. "Elvis, you can't do sessions without me. You know that." "The contract?" Elvis interrupts. "It's not for release." Parker doesn't understand. Then why record it? Elvis pauses. "Because I needed to." Parker doesn't push further. But he makes calls. Within a week, he finds out about the tape. He demands it. RCA hesitates. Elvis said to keep it sealed. Parker is furious. "I manage Elvis Presley. Everything he records belongs to the estate. Give me the tape." RCA complies. They give Parker the master. Parker listens to 30 seconds, then stops. This isn't commercial. This isn't marketable. This isn't Elvis. He's wrong. This is exactly Elvis. But Parker doesn't see it. He seals the tape, marks it, personal, do not release, files it away, and forgets about it. But Al's copy remains, hidden, safe, secret. Years pass. Elvis is declining. The pills increase, the weight increases, the sadness increases. He still performs, still records, still smiles for cameras, but those who know him see the truth. He's fading. Red West, his old friend, tries to talk to him. "Elvis, you need help." Elvis waves him off. "I'm fine." He's not fine. Linda Thompson, his girlfriend, sees it too. She tries, she really tries. But Elvis is unreachable, locked in Graceland, locked in his mind, locked in a prison of fame. The gospel recording from March 1974 is forgotten by everyone except Al and Elvis, because even though Elvis said he didn't want to hear it, he thought about it every night. He wondered what he sounded like, what he said, whether it mattered. But he never asked to hear it, because hearing it would mean confronting it. And he wasn't ready. August 16th, 1977. Elvis dies. Graceland bathroom, 42 years old. Alone. The world mourns. Millions cry. Radio stations play tributes. News anchors eulogize. The king is dead, and with him, 1,000 secrets, including the tape. 1 week after Elvis's death, Al receives a call. It's RCA. We're compiling unreleased material. Do you have anything? Al thinks about the copy in his basement. No. Nothing. He hangs up. He's not lying to protect RCA. He's lying to protect Elvis. Because Elvis said, don't let anyone hear it. And death doesn't void a promise. The months pass. Parker sells everything. Concert recordings, outtakes, rehearsals, anything that can be monetized. But he doesn't remember the March 1974 tape. It sits in a vault, cataloged, forgotten, until 1982. A young RCA assistant named David Chen is organizing archives. He finds a box marked, Personal Do Not Release, dated 1974. Curiosity wins. He opens it. Inside, a tape. Reel to reel. Unauthorized session, March 1974, EP. EP Elvis Presley. David's heart races. He shouldn't listen. The label says, do not release. But Parker is gone now. Fired in 1980. The estate is under new management. David takes the tape to a playback room, alone. Late at night, he threads it, presses play, and for the next 47 minutes, he doesn't move. Elvis's voice fills the room, not the polished voice, the broken voice, singing about sin, about loss, about searching, about needing God. The piano is simple. The words are raw. The emotion is overwhelming. When it ends, David sits in silence, tears on his face. He doesn't understand why he's crying. He just knows he heard something sacred, something not meant for him, something not meant for anyone. He rewinds the tape, puts it back in the box, seals it, and writes a note on the file. Content of personal nature. Preserve indefinitely. Do not release without family consent. That note saves the tape, because in the following years, much of RCA's archives are sold, scattered, lost. But this tape remains, protected by a note from someone who understood. Al Pachuki is dying. Lung cancer. Stage 4, 3 months to live. He's 73 years old. He calls his son Michael, also a sound engineer. There's something I need to show you. Michael drives to his father's house. Al is weak, but determined. They go to the basement. Al points to a box, top shelf, dusty, forgotten. Open it. Michael opens it. Inside a tape, reel to reel, no label. What is this? Al breathes slowly. Elvis Presley, March 1974. I promised I'd never let anyone hear it. But now, you need to decide. Michael is silent. Al continues. It's the most honest thing he ever recorded. It's not for sale, not for fame. It's for keeping or for sharing. You decide. 3 weeks later, Al Pachuki dies. Michael is left with the tape and the burden. He spends months thinking. Listening would betray his father's trust, wouldn't it? Or would it honor Elvis's memory? Finally, alone in his studio, he plays it. And he understands everything. Understands why his father kept it. Understands why Elvis wanted privacy. Understands the weight of that music. Michael makes a choice. He won't sell the tape, won't leak it, won't commercialize it, but he will preserve it digitally, because tapes degrade, and this is too important to lose. He transfers it to digital format, creates a backup, stores it in a safe, and waits. Michael is contacted by Graceland Foundation. They're compiling a complete archive of Elvis, everything that exists, everything ever recorded, everything meaningful. Michael mentions the tape, but doesn't hand it over. Not yet. He negotiates. If the tape is included in the archive, it must remain private, for academic research only, for approved historians only, never for sale. Graceland agrees. In 2003, the tape is officially donated. It goes to a special vault, temperature-controlled, restricted access. Very few people have heard it. Lisa Marie Presley is one of them. She asks to hear the March 1974 session. She didn't know it existed. Nobody told her. When she listens, she's silent for hours. Then she gives a statement. This is my father, the real man, not the legend, the man I knew when cameras were off, the man who prayed, who was scared, who searched for God. This is his, and it needs to be protected. The tape remains private. To this day. But here's what we do know about what's on it, from the few who've heard. The session begins with silence. 20 seconds of nothing. Just Elvis breathing, preparing. Then the first chord, D major, held for 8 seconds. Then his voice, Lord, I'm trying. Those are the first words, 3 words that set the tone for everything that follows. The song, if you can call it that, has no traditional structure. No verse-chorus-verse, no bridge, no hook. It's stream of consciousness, musical prayer. Elvis sings about his mother, about Gladys, about how she believed in him, about how he failed her. He sings about fame, about how it promised everything, about how it delivered nothing. He sings about Lisa Marie, about being a father, about not knowing how, about wanting to be better. He sings about God, about feeling far away, about wanting to come home, about not knowing the way. His voice breaks 17 times during the recording. 17 moments where emotion overwhelms technique, and he doesn't stop, doesn't start over, doesn't apologize. He just continues. The piano playing is simple throughout. Basic chords, no flourishes, no showmanship, because this isn't about skill, it's about truth. Around minute 32, Elvis stops singing, but keeps playing. For 4 minutes, just piano, no words, just chords, repeating, searching. Then his voice returns, softer now, almost spoken. I'm sorry. He says it 3 times. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. To whom? To God? To Gladys? To Priscilla? To himself? We don't know. He doesn't specify. But the weight in his voice makes it clear. This apology is real. Desperately real. The recording ends abruptly, mid-phrase. Elvis is singing about light, about seeing light, about walking toward it. And then, silence. The tape runs for another 30 seconds. Empty. Just the hiss of magnetic tape. Then Al stops the recording. That's it. 47 minutes. One take. One truth. Never released. Never sold. Never heard by the millions who loved him. And maybe that's right. Because this wasn't for them. This was for Elvis. A moment of honest communion. With music. With God. With himself. Quick thought. If you could speak to God without anyone listening, what would you say? What truth would you confess? Leave a comment. There's something profound about the fact that this tape exists. In an era where everything is recorded, everything is shared, everything is content, Elvis had a moment that remained private, and it stayed private, not because it was shameful, but because it was sacred. We live in a world that demands access to celebrities, access to their lives, access to their pain. We feel entitled. They're public figures, we say. They owe us, we say. But do they? Do they owe us their prayers, their confessions, their most vulnerable moments? Elvis didn't think so, and even in death, his wishes are being honored. The tape exists in a vault. Protected. Not hidden. Protected. There's a difference. Hidden implies shame. Protected implies value. This tape is valuable, not monetarily, though collectors would pay millions. Spiritually, it represents something we've lost. The right to private spiritual struggle, the right to seek God without cameras, the right to be broken without it becoming content. Elvis had that right, and he exercised it. Once. On a March night in 1974. And the fact that we know about it but can't hear it? That's not frustrating. That's beautiful. Because it proves some things are still sacred. Some moments still matter more than money. Some truths are meant to be kept. The tape will probably never be released. Lisa Marie made that clear before she died. She said her father deserved privacy, even in death, especially in death. And Graceland honors that. But here's what the tape's existence teaches us. Even Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, needed God. Even Elvis Presley, with all the fame and money and adoration, felt lost. Even Elvis Presley, surrounded by thousands, felt alone. That's the human condition. Fame doesn't fix it. Money doesn't solve it. Applause doesn't fill it. There's a God-shaped hole in every human heart, and Elvis felt it, deeply. He tried to fill it with gospel recordings. How Great Thou Art won him 3 Grammys. All 3 of Elvis's Grammys were for gospel. Not rock, not pop. Gospel. The music of his childhood. The music of his mother. The music of his soul. But even those recordings were performances. Great performances. Moving performances. But still performances. With producers. With arrangements. With an audience in mind. The March 1974 tape was different. No producer. No arrangement. No audience. Just Elvis and God. That's why it matters. That's why it's protected. And that's why we should be grateful it exists, even if we never hear it, because knowing it exists is enough. It proves Elvis was real. Not the myth, not the legend, not the icon. Real. A real man. With real pain. With real faith. With real hope. And that man, in a moment of complete honesty, reached out to God through music. No cameras, no contracts, no Colonel Parker, just faith. Simple, desperate, beautiful faith. The tape is 47 minutes long, but its impact is eternal, because it reminds us who Elvis really was. Before the jumpsuits, before Vegas, before the world knew his name, he was a boy in Tupelo, singing in church, believing in something bigger, and on that March night, he went back. Back to Tupelo. Back to church. Back to belief. In a Nashville studio, at 3 a.m., alone. And for 47 minutes, he was home. Really home. Not Graceland, spiritual home. The place where music and prayer are the same thing. Where melody is worship. Where every note is a step toward God. Elvis found that place, once, in 1974. And he recorded it. Not for us, for him. As proof. Proof that he could still touch it. Proof that it was still real. Proof that he wasn't completely lost. 3 years later, Elvis died. He never spoke about the recording, never mentioned it, never asked to hear it. Maybe he didn't need to. Maybe the act of making it was enough. The act of confession. The act of surrender. The act of reaching out. That was the point, not the recording, the reaching. And he reached. For 47 minutes, he reached, and maybe, just maybe, something reached back. We'll never know. That's between Elvis and God, but the tape exists as evidence, evidence that he tried. And trying in the end is all any of us can do. We can reach, we can pray, we can confess, we can seek. Whether anyone's listening, whether anyone records it, whether anyone cares, we reach anyway, because we're human, and humans need God. Even kings, especially kings. Elvis knew that. And that knowledge, that humility, that desperate faith, that's what makes him legendary. Not the hits, not the movies, not the sold-out shows. This moment, this recording, this prayer, unheard by millions, but heard by the one who matters, and that has to be enough. For Elvis, and for us, the tape sits in Graceland. Temperature-controlled vault, access restricted, waiting, not to be released, to be remembered, as proof of humanity, as proof of faith, as proof that even in the darkest moments we can still sing, still reach, still believe. Elvis did. On a March night in 1974, alone in a studio at 3 a.m., he sang to God, and somewhere, in the silence between notes, God listened. That's the story. Not of a recording, of a moment. A sacred, private, beautiful moment, and we're blessed to know it happened, even if we never hear it, because some things are more powerful unheard. Some prayers are meant to stay between a soul and its maker. Some music is too holy for ears. This is one of them. And unfortunately, they don't make men like Elvis Presley anymore.